Fatou? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين. We greet you with the best of greetings, that is the greeting of peace. We say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you. Firstly, we want to thank all the media houses for answering to our call. Yet again, another APRC presser. Despite your busy schedules, as a party, we believe in working with the media directly, and quite honestly, we've opened all our doors to the media, and you've always responded to our call. We definitely want to thank you for that. And as usual, we'll have the proper press conference, after which we'll have question and answers. As we normally do, we're open to any type of questions, but all we want is for questions not to be repeated, and we'll give access and opportunity to every media house to raise their concerns, any questions they have, and we'll answer to the best of our ability. So without wasting much time and without much ado, we definitely want to go into the press conference proper. And once again, we welcome you all to yet another APRC press conference. It is of great honor and pleasure that all the time we share with the media whatever information we have, and for you to disseminate what information is given to you for the public out there. So the Right Honorable Alhaji Fabakary Tombong Jatta, he will lead you through this press conference. Honorable, the floor is all yours.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين. Let me seize this opportunity to thank our deputy spokesperson and secretary for coordinating this press conference, and to welcome the various media houses here in present for responding to our call. We appreciate and acknowledge it. I also want to thank the APRC National Executive Committee, all APRC members and sympathizers, both here and the diaspora, and indeed all Gambians. I send you all our sincere greetings. I want to make a preamble to the press conference. I want to make it abundantly clear that we, the membership of the Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation, what we want. The so-called political commentators and human rights activists like Nyan Jany and Madi Jobate who, for reasons best known to them, will make remarks against ourselves and our leadership and our people and expect no response from anybody. This cannot be tolerated. Madi Jobate, in passing, who represents the Westminster in trying to ensure democracy and rule of law, we all know, is partisan in all his endeavors, ever since, for the past 20-something years. He clothes himself in a wolf's clothing and expects that he can say and do anything without response. To the extent that they were reporting my first deputy to the police, and even demanding from police to call him for question as if they are the be-all and the end-all of everything. Let nobody take us for granted. Let nobody take our discipline, our respect for granted. I said we are Gambians, we are God-fearing, we are disciplined, we don't want any problems in the country. But don't take us for a ride. I will make a special comment. Instead of Usman Rambo, I will myself take the lead in dissecting what these people are doing and exposing them and even asking them. We will do anything possible to respond equally or more to whatever they do. That has to be made clear. We as a party are dictated by our conscience and the wishes and aspirations of our party members and indeed our beloved country, the Gambia. The focus of today's press conference is the ruling of the Gambia Court of Appeal that is M.A. Gaddafi versus the Attorney General, the subsequent response by the Attorney General, and our position so far. That's the focus. That will not limit you from asking any other question that we might have left out. As Dudu said, we don't close down. People may ask any questions they want to ask, and we will do our best to answer all the questions. Now, I want to make a contrast as to what the key ingredients of the judgment versus the response of Attorney General Batambedu versus who is Batambedu. We must look at it from that perspective. To this end, before I go into the details, I want you, the various media houses, to make your judgments and those listening. I would just want to read what Batambedu, his response to the judgment, just some quotes from it. I will go into the judgment and I will now lay out who Batambedu is. He said, meanwhile, consistent with the government's strong commitment to respect for rule of law, all sale of properties flowing from the Ghana Commission recommendations have now been suspended in deference to the ruling of the Court of Appeal until the final pronouncement is made. But he said this. He said, the government notes that different interpretations of the ruling are being offered by many, including sections of the media. The government wishes to clarify to the general public that the Gambia Court of Appeal did not in any way state that the Ghana Commission recommendations cannot be enforced. Did not state in any way that the Ghana Commission recommendations cannot be enforced. Rather, in a departure from long-established practice in this jurisdiction, the Court of Appeal held that an additional legal step needs to be taken by the executive in order to execute some and not all of the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry, such as the Ghana Commission. Indeed, the Gambia Court of Appeal has accepted in the said ruling that the position arrived at by the court in this matter is a novel. The government, however, disagrees with this position by the Court of Appeal and intends to further litigate this matter. And he concluded by saying, by Atembedu, the new Gambia is committed to the principles of good governance and rapidly gaining recognition around the world as a bastion of democracy and a judicial independence. These are the words of Batambedu. It is the same judgment we all read. Let's make comparisons. In the judgment, Justice Njai said, a commission of inquiry does not and legally cannot make a judgment. A commission of inquiry does not and legally cannot make a judgment. Very clear words. In other words, he continued, a commission of inquiry cannot legally render a binding decision which may be executed or enforced as it were a judgment or order. Cannot make it a binding decision or enforce it as if it were a judgment, that's a court-given judgment or an order from the court. Batambedu said the judgment did not say that. Justice Njai further said, the adverse findings and recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry are merely advisory and not conclusive and binding. The adverse recommendations are mere recommendations and not conclusive, neither binding. Justice Njai, in his judgment, weighed against what Batambedu said. He further noted that Commission of Inquiry is part and parcel of the executive and not part of the judiciary, thus not an adjudicating body. Commission of Inquiry is part of the executive. It has nothing to do with the legislature or the judiciary. And therefore, it's only the judiciary that can make judgments that can be enforced and executed, or orders. This is what they are saying. The appeal court quoted and relied on a Supreme Court judgment, Fayal Ghanem versus the Attorney General, with the Chief Justice sitting. That's Hassan B. Jallow, the current Chief Justice. And Justice Hassan Jallow stated that a commission of inquiry is not a law-making body. It has no legislative powers and does not fall within the legislature. This is before a previous case that this judgment relied on. This was also stated, and this had not been a guidance to Batambedu, Attorney General and Chief Legal Advisor to government. Justice Jallow further said in that judgment that a commission of inquiry is an investigative, fact-finding body which makes findings and recommendations that are subjected to the approval of government. Legal judgments are not subject to approval of the president or the executive. This is Hassan Jallow's judgment in a different case earlier on. Justice Njai of the Appeal Court said, consequently, my view is that the advised findings or recommendations of a commission of inquiry cannot be executed or enforced. They are not judgments or orders of an adjudicating body. Cannot. This is what he said. Batambedu, I just read it for you when he said, that's not what the judgment said. I think he's reading another document from Mass. You see, we are at a stage that no one person can fool Gambians. We must recognize that. If mistakes are made, we must accept our mistakes as human beings. But in the execution of our duties, we must put away emotions and sentiments. The government white paper, Njai said about the government white paper, a white paper does not certainly emanate from the Commission of Inquiry. It emanates from government. And it is, as a result, not part of the report of the Commission of Inquiry. It is not legislative. It has no legislative character, and it is certainly not a judgment or order of a court. That's a white paper. Certainly not a judgment or an order of a court. And only the court has those jurisdictions. Justice Njai finally said, if, following the publication of a report of a commission of inquiry, together with any advice findings and recommendations, the executive intends to impose any penalty to any person adversely mentioned, the executive must, quote, the executive must take the requisite court actions, whether civil or criminal, in order to have those penalties enforced. And the recommendations are done. It goes to government, and government wants to act. The judgment is that they cannot do anything. If they want to go further, they should resort to the courts. Batambedu misled us. I quote him again. The government wishes to clarify that the general public, that the Gambia Court of Appeal did not in any way state that the Ghana Commission recommendations cannot be enforced. Comparisons. I've just read two of them to you. And then he went further to state, Batambedu, that what the commission said is government can go to another level of going to court. Then why should government stop selling the properties? I beg that question. And Justice Njai finally concluded, just concluding now. He said the 1997 Constitution and other laws of the Gambia do not provide for the suffering of liabilities by persons against whom advice findings are made by commissions of inquiry. Justice Njai, I read again. The 1997 Constitution and other laws of the Gambia do not provide for the suffering of liabilities by persons against whom adverse findings are made by the Commission of Inquiry. It cannot just be automatic. Commission says this, you go and implement it. These are what we are, where we are today. Various reactions came out. Key amongst them is Almame Tal. We all know Almame is a lawyer by profession, but a disappointment by all standards. Almame, I quote him, just a person, Attorney General should not have suspended the sale of properties and assets belonging to former President Yahya Jammeh and others, despite the appeal court ruling. Reasons: this is just one case. Every other case will be subjected to the same scrutiny. What he was trying to say is, this is Ghanem versus Attorney General. And therefore, if it comes to Yahya Jammeh or Fabakary, we should wait for that. If a lawyer can talk to Gambians in that sense, I will be most disappointed for any Gambian to seek for any legal advice from that person. I'm not a lawyer, but I challenge him on this issue. The ruling states categorically, not the Commission of Inquiry cannot enforce orders on Ghanim. He said he cannot enforce orders on any Gambian. The last portion of what I read to you, he said was that the 1997 Constitution and other laws of the Gambia do not provide for the suffering of liabilities of persons against whom advice findings have been found against. These are very clear statements. But they are out to mislead Gambians. They are vicious, they are emotional, and they are full of sentiments. Why? I will give you reasons. Since President Jammeh left the source of this country, yourselves, you will see the narration. And all these things, I must sadly say, that even some media houses are complicit. Because your key role is to inform factually, without bias, without emotions, without your lineages, political lineages, to the public. If you are investigative, you can make analysis. I remember, Honorable, I don't know whether you have it ready.
Yes.
Sometime last year, some time ago, myself and Dudu had a program on ITV, Aprc TV, and I said this. I said, it is illegal for the Commission of Inquiry to effect sales of President Jammeh's properties, especially his cattle and vehicles. Nobody listened. It was not even an issue. You know, the issues we raise, just once, it just comes out, one person, we don't hear it again. And people belabor issues. There are a lot of things happening in this system that, for me, I cannot ever imagine those things happening during our time. The adage here is Aprc and Yahya Jammeh, human rights violations in every form. But is that all in governance? Is that all in governance? When people have prepared people's minds, have their program to detract people from current issues so that they will openly be looting the assets of Gambians, thus leading us into acute poverty and despair. This is what is happening. I will ask Dudu to play that, to confirm that. We will come. Now, I now ask the question, why were AG, Attorney General Batambelu and his cohorts busy on the smear campaign against APRC, Yaya Jammeh, for that matter, since former President Jammeh left the source of this country? And I ask for us all, listen. If I am lying, you can say it in your papers. I am saying that the main reason was to distract us, Gambians, focus us on Yaya Jammeh, his killings, his looting, APRC, how bad we are, whilst they are looting civilizedly our resources, enriching themselves, playing on the minds of Gambians. I will prove it. We all know that Batambedu professes himself to be a human rights lawyer, a human rights activist, and a gentleman who wants to ensure there is democracy, rule of law. That's what he always pronounces. Verbal, what he talks about. You are assessed not by what you say, but by what you do. Taking that as a cue, I believe that Attorney General Batambedu is a blot on this coalition Barrow government. Just like if you take white sheet and you dump charcoal or ink on it, he's a blot on it for many reasons. And therefore, he does not have the moral compass. Because of the reasons I will adduce, Batambedu does not have the moral compass to talk about President Jammeh or APRC as to our bad deeds. You cannot be a criminal, more criminal than us, and you want to tell us you are criminals. A thief telling a thief you are a thief. We would not tolerate that. Now, let's focus on that. If you remember, in the Yankuba Baji trial, Batambedu appointed his brother, Sheriff Tambedu. And if you recall, Yankuba Baji's wife was able to record his brother in their private discussions. That blew out, and Sheriff resigned. Honestly, if I were Batambedu, I have the guts to appoint my brother. Honestly, I would resign. Ba stayed put, and he's the champion of rule of law and democracy and human rights. He stayed. People never bothered about that. We are aware the passport scandal. Batambedu is the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, at the same time the chief legal advisor to the executive, basically to President Adama Barrow. We all know the scam, passport scam, to a level when Gambian diplomatic passport is just like a tissue paper. Ba decided to get passport for his wives, his mother, stepmothers, sisters, and all these things. And he said, when he was challenged, he said his mother cannot walk and all these things. When he's going to Mecca, he needs assistance. As if you, your mother, my mother, as old as they may be, are not Gambians and don't deserve that. But that aside, when the pressure mounted on him and then he decided to return the passport, he said, in fact, I am not the approving authority. I only applied and President Adama Barrow approved it. Now shifting responsibility from himself now to Adama Barrow. Batambedu. Who knows best than Batambedu, a legal man, to know how diplomatic passports should be issued? Who knows the laws more than that person? even if President Barrow approves it, he is better positioned to know who and not who to give the passports to. See, we have reached a stage when you are confronted with facts. For us to move forward, we must accept facts and correct the mistakes and move forward. We cannot constantly be denying and shifting blames from one person to the other. That is Batambedu. You remember President Adama Barrow said in Sibanor that President Jammeh can come back here as a gentleman, as a citizen, but will not be president. The next day, Batambedu went. If President Jammeh sets his foot here, he will be arrested at the airport. The president versus Batambedu. Don't we look between lines what these people are up to? He, Batambedu, with the commission, seized our vehicles and all our things. And I remember then, we wrote to him, Batambedu, saying that, why should you seize our vehicles? Because we have seen the coalition government giving our brand new pickups to their party militants just within 3-4 months into office. They referred us to the police that they are investigating. The commission has finished its report. The government white paper is out. Journalists, you have seen it. Have you seen mentioned anywhere APRC vehicles? Over 20-something to 30 vehicles. Look at it. And what we said was, if the vehicles are seized and that they are to be ascertained as to ownership, they should be parked somewhere. If judgment is that they are owned by the state, they take it. If they say 5 are owned by state and the rest are owned by you, they act on it. But you cannot find, from the time they were seized, you cannot find those vehicles anywhere. Anywhere. Some are repainted, some are sold outside. Anything has happened. They don't even know where the vehicles are. The champion of democracy and human rights, and a human rights activist. The same Batambedu always want to distract people, especially for people to dislike APRC more and Yahya Jammeh more, so that our concentration will be that. In addressing soldiers, he thanked Gambian soldiers for making the most attempt on Yahya Jammeh's government, coup d'etats against the Yahya Jammeh government. No, that is criminal. That's why, in response to that some time ago, I said, if anybody attempts President Adama Barrow's coalition government and you dodge away, if APRC comes to governance, if you come back, we will prosecute you according to law. These are the sayings of Batambedu. If you remember the Honorable Kumba Jete, it's the same Batambedu who illegally advised the president until the government found it themselves in that embarrassment. Legal mind. Legal mind. I'm just giving you a synopsis of who Batambedu is. When Haruna Jatta was shot dead, we glamored, we talked, we did everything. Batambedu is the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. To date, have not put up any inquiry into his death, nor did they even have the courtesy to pay a courtesy call on the family, the young family of Haruna Jatta, as if they are not Gambians. Ismail Tamba was shot in Kanilai by a soldier. He almost died. Not one investigation. Is that the man who is the champion of human rights and democracy? Or is he the man who has an agenda? That time will tell. I will give you one. When the commission started, just starting, there was time they seized our vehicles. There was time they seized President Jammeh's cattle. I will give you a very good story. Seized it. It was then estimated that he had over 7,000 cattle. The receiver, the court-appointed receiver of Jammeh's properties then was Augustus Prom. We know Augustus Prom. The firm, the auditing firm, I have the opportunity to work with them. They are professional, honest and decent, and always dictated by their conscience. Batambedu, for whatever reasons, the court-appointed receiver was removed, and he appointed one Barry as receiver, Alpha Barry. Some say it's a friend to him. Question mark, why? I know Augustus Prom, there are certain things they will never take it. But see what happened. Out of these 7,000 cattle, over 7,000, a committee was set up for sales, to sell these things. The committee only found 720 cattle to sell. 720. And out of that, the proceeds, 8 million plus, it was said to be lodged into the account. Unless they put it back tomorrow, but it was removed. Where is the balance of the remaining cattle? And are you aware that in President Jammeh's Kanilai home, there are tens and there are over 20 containers filled with, we all know Yaya Jammeh, he doesn't like second class things. We all know him, like him or dislike him. Furniture, laptops, TV flat screens, containers and containers. Where are they? We cannot name them. In millions, that those things, if sold, will go into billions of dollars. His equipment, what do you call this? Honey, equipment.
Agricultural.
Graders and all these things. Various categories. Some cost over $500,000 to what? Sorry, over $500 million. 8 of them all disappeared in here. Batambedu as Minister and Attorney General of the Gambia, the champion of human rights, democracy and rule of law. We have seen, all of us, we all know that President Jammeh's vehicles, various types of vehicles, very expensive vehicles, we see them with former ministers and some in government, sold out. If you remember, I challenged journalists to ask Batambedu to tell the Gambian people we have a right to know who bought those vehicles, how much was it sold for, and were the vehicles sale advertised or gazetted or whatever. These things are not forthcoming. You just see. An example, I have reliable information that I believe that Nyanjai, who is always blabbering about Yaya Jammeh, if he gets him, I think he will kill him, is one person who bought President Jammeh's Mercedes Benz that's worth over $2 million for $100,000. Range Rover. $100,000. You think that man would like Yaya Jammeh to come back? And that's just a bit of what we are investigating. We are coming on them. Why some of these people are crying foul. Why they are always talking about no Yaya Jammeh, no Aprc. And they will die, Aprc will exist here. We are Gambians like them. As I said, journalists, I said some of you people are complicit in the whole saga. I remember when we were in government, even if you look strongly at somebody, the journalist will pick it. But today, you see criminal activities, looting, open day looting in the country. And people are making us believe that we should only be concentrating on the past deeds of APRC or Yaya Jammeh. As if those talks will fill our bellies, provide school and education for our children, and help us have access to education. We said at the onset, that we as a party are in agreement for them to look into the activities of APRC. But we said, independent-minded people. Look at the composition of the Janneh Commission. Janneh himself and Ami Bensouda are victims of the Mama Fatuma Singate tax evasion inquiry. You ask them to come and investigate President Jammeh. Look, we don't have other Gambians. We remember the TRRC when we talked about Alaji Barrow, who was a coupist in 2014, December. He ran away, convicted in America. When he was coming here, cabinet ministers gave him a red carpet welcome at the airport. A coupist. However much you may dislike the person of Yaya Jammeh, love the Gambia. Under no circumstances should we tolerate or accept military coup d'etats. People lost their lives. It did not stop there. He was taken to the TRRC to work in the investigation of APRC and Yaya Jammeh. The same person who used a gun and failed, now you tell him, use your pen. Easier. These are all evident. The issue is, whilst they are continuously trying to tarnish the image of Yaya Jammeh's smear campaign over the years, you have all seen it. When we started in 2017, you dare not even tell somebody APRC. Nor can you wear an APRC t-shirt or symbol. People were scared. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants truth and will always protect those on the truth. To date, with all the smear campaigns, APRC is growing from strength to strength. Because most Gambians have now realized that the solution to Gambia's problem is not talking about what the bad Yaya Jammeh did, and no one will ever talk about the good that he has done. But most of those bad things that they allege he has done are happening today in the Gambia. I want to demand and urge President Adama Barrow. I will first of all ask Batambedu to resign as Attorney General and Minister of Justice. He has failed the system. He can only talk loud and big when his actions are as small and minute as an ant. His behavior does not conform to the position of Attorney General and Minister of Justice. As Attorney General and Minister of Justice, despite whatever might have happened, you should be independent, you should be less emotional, you should be professional and honest. Now, in the absence of that, President Adama Barrow is losing his popularity because of many reasons, but the key amongst them is Ba Tambedu as Minister and Attorney General. Therefore, it is not only enough to stop the sales of properties of those adversely affected at the Commission of Inquiry. The court has said it is illegal. So whatever Ba Tambedu and his cohort have done is criminal and illegal. That's the decision of the court. You don't only stop it, you must tell people where are those properties, who are there, are they on rent, have you rented any of them, who is collecting the money, and return those properties to their owners until otherwise decided by the court. That's what we are demanding. It's not enough. You cannot go under the cloak. This judgment is the biggest disgrace to Barrow government. When, if you remember, following the white paper, they unilaterally decided to leave some out from punishment and others to be punished. Now, the Gambia Court of Appeal has categorically stated that sales of properties of those affected by the commission or whatever are illegal, and whatever is there cannot be enforced or executed. So what I am saying is Ba Tambedu must bring back those properties to their owners, because I remember they were busy going around removing people from President Jammeh's properties. Very insensitive. Very insensitive. Even if they were to be seized, you have poor people living there. Why? You should have the milk of human kindness. You are a leader of a people. Wherever you have leaders, you know that it's the people whom you are leading, and it's the people whose interests you must protect. This is what they did here when they took Jammeh's tax those from farmers and youth groups and all these things, only to go and sell them to individuals. Just look at those things. We want to know those things. We want Ba Tambedu, and you, the journalists, I charge you people. I challenge you for us to be informed on which of the properties are sold, to whom were they sold, was it